It's Texas Rangers baseball. Brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers. For all you do, this Bud's for you. By Lennox and your independent Lennox dealers. For all your heating and cooling needs, see your independent Lennox dealer. They're your efficiency experts. By Texaco and its 18,000 retailers and 55,000 employees. Texaco, working to keep your trust for 84 years. By the many services of Southwestern Bell Telephone. By Nissan and your Dallas-Fort Worth Nissan dealers. By your neighborhood True Value hardware stores. And by Dr. Pepper, the soft drink that's out of the ordinary, like you.
We're live at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore as tonight we kick off our coverage of the Texas Rangers for 1986. The Rangers with a record of 5-3 atop the American League Western Division on the road to take on the Baltimore Orioles. Good evening and welcome to our broadcast position. I'm Bob Carpenter along with Steve Busby. Buzz, it's great to be working with you this year. And I don't think any of us expected quite what we've seen so far. A lot of crazy games in the first 10 days or so of the season, but Bobby Valentine's team is finding a way to win some of those crazy games.
Well, Bob, that's the important thing. They have been crazy. Some strange things happen, but that's typical of this time of the year, no matter what ball club you have. And I think it's important, too, to note that the club has been winning 5-3 on top of the Western Division. And the biggest thing right now with this young Ranger ball club is to get that winning attitude. I don't care how you do it. Win ball games. Prove to yourselves that you belong and compete at the major league level.
I think yesterday's game at Milwaukee was typical. Bobby Witt pulled out of the game after 5 innings with a no-hitter, but he had walked 8 batters and struck out 10 and threw 4 wild pitches. Those things are going to happen, but as the guy said in the clubhouse yesterday, you love to win a game like that, and you hate to lose them. Tonight on the mound for the Rangers will be the left-hander, Mike Mason, starting against the Orioles. And there's a couple of ball players on this team he's had trouble with in the past, like Benitez and Cal Ripken.
Well, a lot of people have had trouble with those two, plus Eddie Murray you have to throw in there also. This is a very potent lineup, but once you get them going. But Mike Mason is facing a very important part of his career now. At 27, he needs to be the accomplished pitcher that people expected him to be. He needs to become a leader on this ball club. From the left side especially, it's important that Mike Mason get his control, get the confidence in himself that he needs to have to be a good pitcher. He has the potential to be a 15 to 18 game winner.
And if you folks were at Arlington Stadium Sunday afternoon, you saw the left-hander of the Orioles, Scott McGregor. He's been a fine pitcher for a long time, a bit of an off year last year, but he is hitting his stride now. He pitched very well on Sunday.
He is an excellent pitcher. He is notoriously slow starting, but not so this year. He threw the ball well, as you said, Sunday. And Scott McGregor, I think, is the kind of pitcher Mike Mason will become. He has become a leader on this Oriole ball club. And with all the pitches, he has mastery over them. He throws strikes. He goes after hitters. Should be a good matchup tonight in that respect.
The makeup of this ball club so far, it's going to be interesting to watch what's happened and how it transpires as the season goes along.
Well, I think this is a big learning process going on right now, but it's interesting to watch that. I think it's fun to watch a ball club grow, and this one's going to grow together. A lot of mistakes will be made, possibly, but again, we go back to the winning. They're going to win or they're going to grow together as a ball club.
All right, that's the pregame thoughts of Steve Busby, and we'll be back with more in a moment from Baltimore. The Rangers open our TV season on the road tonight against the Orioles here at Memorial Stadium, and more is coming up in just a moment. Well, on a Friday night in Baltimore, the two most popular things in town are Orioles baseball and crab cakes, and we've got both of them here at the ballpark tonight as the Rangers are on the road with a very good road record so far of 2-0 after sweeping at Milwaukee. We'll take a look at the batting order for the ball game tonight. And for the Rangers, it'll be Scott Flesher leading off, playing shortstop. Toby Harrah will be at second, batting second, and Pete O'Brien's at first, batting third. The cleanup man, Pete Incaviglia, off to the slow start, hoping for better things this weekend. Gary Warden center and Larry Parrish the DH. Don Slaughton will catch. Tom Paciorek in left tonight getting the start. And Steve Buechele at third base. For the Rangers, that's the batting order tonight against Scott McGregor. And Buzz, what about that Baltimore defense?
I have to say it's one of the better ones of baseball, that they have made mistakes going around from first to third, Eddie Murray will be at first base. At second base, Alan Wiggins. Over at third tonight, Juan Beniquez. And at shortstop, the great Cal Ripken. In the outfield, it will be John Shelby in left, Fred Lynn in center field, and Lee Lacy in right. The battery behind the plate, Rick Dempsey. And on the mound, 32-year-old left-hander Scott McGregor with that 1-0 mark. Of course, that win last Sunday in Arlington Stadium. And that, for Scott McGregor and the Orioles, snapped a 2-game losing streak. McGregor has been amazing over his career against the Rangers. He is 8-1 now with that win last Sunday. And he has just almost been insurmountable. A good control pitcher. He had a good spring training. He was 1-0 in 6A games for the Orioles in the Miami confines of their Florida spring camp.
Had an unusual spring. I was talking on Sunday at Arlington Stadium to their pitching coach, Ken Rowe, and he said, you know, Scott threw pretty well in spring training, but he had a lot of chinkers fall in, and that's why the record and all that wasn't that great, but they were very pleased with the way he threw. And he'll face Scott Fletcher to lead it off for the Rangers here in the first. Scott, a guy who was known as losing the shortstop job to Curtis Wilkerson, but here we are 10 days into the season, and Scott is making almost daily appearances in the lineup. He's hitting .353 with a couple of RBIs, and the first delivery catches the outside corner. McGregor has to have the good fastball to set up his breaking pitches, Steve.
That's one of the things he does, too. You would think a control pitcher like this with a good breaking ball might tend to go the other way around, but not so with Scott McGregor. He goes right after hitters.
And his problems last year stem from the fact that he did not have command of his fastball. He seemingly lost his fastball, and hitters were sitting back and waiting for the junk. It's not junk unless something hard is setting it up.
Part of the problem, too, I think, is what we just mentioned, that he went in the reverse order of what had made him successful. He tried to get ahead with the off-speed stuff, and he lost the command of his fastball. He walked many more hitters last year than he had in prior years.
There's the breaking pitch. He busted it inside on Scott. On 0-2. Fletcher has hit safely in 3 of his 5 ball games so far. Former Chicago White Sox on 1-2. There's the breaking ball again. This one to the shortstop, Ripken, who's very good at that position. Now, Ripken is not your prototype shortstop. Only stands 6'4", but he's been one of the best in the American League in percentage the last couple of years. There's been a lot of rumors that he's switching to third base, but right now, he's happy at short. Toby Harrell will hit now in the number 2 spot. Toby off to a bit of a slow start at 174, but he does have 5 RBIs. The Rangers have done some outstanding hitting with men on base. There's the hard one again, inside corner at the letters, and Toby did not like the call. Steve and I were joking a couple of hours before game time. The team has a slugging percentage of .476 right now. If they keep it up, we're going to win about 120 games this year and rival the 27 Yankees, right?
Yeah, if you slug .476, you're going to beat an awful lot of ball clubs during the course of the season.
Pete O'Brien, the on-deck hitter, against the left-hander, McGregor. They've got Toby played around to the left a bit. And on the outside corner, it's 1-2, and he's been ahead of the first 2 hitters. Dennis Leonard is pitching again for the Royals tonight up in Toronto. Rangers came into the ballgame tonight a half game ahead of KC and Seattle in the West. The O's are 5-4. They're tied with Detroit, game and a half back of the Yankees. And he wasted one upstairs. Scott McGregor is from Inglewood, California, suburb of L.A., now living in Phoenix, Maryland. 14-14 a year ago with a very uncharacteristic 4.81 ERA. This one will play for Lee Lacy. Lee Lacy, outstanding years with the Pirates and the Dodgers. Good offensive ball player. Their DH on this team is Mike Young, a power-hitting guy who can play the outfield. Lacy in right. Here's the Ranger first baseman, Pete O'Brien. Interesting matchup here. McGregor coming away from the side. Pete trying his best not to bail out, and then he hits him right on the outside corner.
Pete O'Brien is a notoriously good hitter against left-handed pitching. One of the few left-handed hitters in the league that you can say that about.
That was a pretty breaking ball. He's had the first two hitters, 1 and 2. Actually had Fletcher 0 and 2 before he wasted one, and now he's got Pete in the hole with Pete Incaviglia on deck. That's a foul ball. Hit fair, spun foul before it reached the bag. The third base umpire there was Rich Garcia making the call. Greg Kosk is behind the plate. There's the ball hitting fair, but twisting foul before it reached the bag. Rick Reed is the first base umpire, and Rich Humphrey is at second. Base is empty with 2 down. 0 and 2. O'Brien protecting the plate. See you later. Strikeout number 1 for Scott McGregor. And he did an impressive job in dissecting the Ranger hitters in the first inning, Steve.
Well, again, he came back for the 0-2 pitch here. Got a good fastball in a perfect spot for 0-2, right on the outside corner. He's a little bit tardy with the swing.
Well, we'll check out the Orioles lineup for you next against the Texas defense when we continue. It's our first telecast of the season. We're glad you're with us from Baltimore. Rangers take to the field as the O's will come up here in the first at Baltimore. Bob Carpenter along with Steve Busby, and we want to take this opportunity to tell you how pleased we are to be together here on the Super Ones, KTVT, and our network stations and cable systems around the great Southwest. We look forward to 50 games with the Rangers in 86. The Orioles will send up Alan Wiggins, the former San Diego Padre, Lee Lacy and Cal Ripken. The cleanup man is Eddie Murray, followed by Fred Lynn and Juan Beniquez. Pretty good top 6 in the lineup, and even better if Wiggins gets on base. Mike Young, the DH, Shelby, the left fielder, and Rick Dempsey, the catcher, against the Texas defense.
Defensively, O'Brien at first, Hara at second, Buechele at third base, and Fletcher at shortstop tonight. The outfield consists of Pachorik, Ward, and Incaviglia, left to right. The battery of Don Slott and Mike Mason, the left-hander, going after his first win of the year.
Alan Wiggins, batting right-handed. He's a switch hitter. He's only 1 for 13 from that side of the plate. An overall mark of 135. And Mason misses inside. Alan Wiggins has an on-base average of 171. And that's not very good for a leadoff man at any level. That's a nice tailing fastball on the outside corner at the knees, a ball and a strike. What about the pitching pattern of Mike Mason against these right-handed hitters?
It will be interesting to contrast the style of Mike Mason and Scott McGregor pitch inside, but Mike Mason would like to do the same thing we saw Scott McGregor do the first inning against left-handers and right-handers, and that's get ahead on the first pitch.
Interesting pitch that time. On 2-1, he almost came straight overhand that time.
Well, he tried to run that fastball in on Alan Wiggins and did a very good job. He got it up right where the hands begin the swing, and he got Wiggins to go after it.
On 2-2. He put it right down the pipe, and Wiggins fouled it into the dirt. Alan Wiggins, of course, nice year 2 years ago with the Padres. One of the big reasons was he had Tony Gwynn batting behind him, who's one of baseball's best young hitters. All you have to do is read Sports Illustrated this week and you'll find that out. But the well-documented drug problems of last year that ended up losing him in San Diego and coming to Baltimore. And Scott Fletcher threw him out by a step. So the pitcher, each pitcher, retires the first man by the shortstop. And Lee Lacy is next for the Orioles of Earl Weaver.
Now, you mentioned the Tony Gwynn, Alan Wiggins connection. A couple of years ago, when Tony Gwynn led the National League at 350 plus, when Wiggins got on base, he hit over 400. So that tells you what kind of help Wiggins was to him.
Breaking ball, Lacy, nice play, backing up Buechele, and that's 2 down. No question about Steve Buechele's defensive capabilities.
He is one of the best young third basemen, I think, to come along in an awful long time. There is no play at third base that he cannot make. That's an excellent start for your Steve Buechele's age.
By the way, we know that Terry Mason and son Derek are tuned in tonight back in the Metroplex, and your southpaw wanted us to pass on best wishes. Let's hope he's around to do that maybe around the 8th or 9th inning tonight, too. Cal Ripken hitting .257 with only a home run, but 7 RBIs to lead the Baltimore team. They've only hit 5 homers. The Rangers have more than doubled up that total with 12. But this is a guy that, I guess in the clubhouse meeting, you talk about how you're going to pitch number 1 and 2, and then you just go on to 4, 5, and 6 because there's not any really effective pitching pattern against this guy, Buzz. You just have to try to fool him somehow.
Well, the big thing right now, Bob, I think, is that of the two, meaning Ripken and Murray, Ripken is swinging the bat much better. And if there's any doubt in your mind as whether who you want to go after, right now you would want to go after Eddie Murray, although I'm not so sure the same thing would be said later on in the season.
On 3-0. Mike Mason got one at the letters in the outside corner. We'll check out this last delivery.
It's your basic 3-0 fastball strike right there.
Ripken last year had some awesome totals against right-handers, and now he's going to be retired on 3-1. Is it Fletcher or Hera? Toby's going to call it. And a 1-2-3 inning for Mike Mason of the Rangers as well. I was thinking Tulsa Drillers. They're double A team. I'm going to have to get used to being away from Tulsa a little bit, but they are playing at Jackson tonight, and the Rangers are here in Baltimore. After one, we're scoreless from Memorial Stadium. Back for the second inning here in Baltimore. 7 homers and 19 RBIs in spring training with a .303 batting mark for Pete Incaviglia, the former Oklahoma State Cowboy. But the season has been a tough start so far for Big Pete. .094 the batting mark with a homer and 4 RBIs. He's 3 for 32. And Scott McGregor operating to him to lead off the second. And Pete's been seeing a lot of junk breaking balls the last week or so.
He will see a lot of breaking balls for quite a while until he shows that he can either lay off of them, be a disciplined hitter, or that he can handle them.
McGregor missing outside with the fastball. Pete did draw a very key walk yesterday in the top of the 9th at Milwaukee. He was 0 for 4 and had committed an error on the day, but he fought the pitcher very nicely and drew a walk that led to the Ranger victory.
There were a lot of people yesterday fighting for walks, weren't there? 21 of them altogether.
I tell you, we had a late charter flight out of Milwaukee last night, and we almost missed it. On 2-1, there's the breaking ball. He caught the outside corner with it. 2-2. Gary Ward is the number 5 hitter for the Rangers this evening, followed by Larry Parrish. So you'll see the meat of the Texas lineup here in the second. That one is well hit to center, but right at Fred Lynn, and he makes the play. I think he made that play look a little tougher than it was, Steve, but that ball was tailing a bit, and Lynn had to make sure that he didn't overrun that ball.
As strong as Pete Incaviglia is, I believe he hit a knuckleball out there. When a ball is traveling that quickly, it's difficult for a center fielder with the ball coming at him to tell which way it actually is going. There's no rotation on the ball to pick up which way it's going to dive, and Fred Lynn, a last-moment lunge to come up with that ball.
Very nicely done. And Incaviglia has hit into a little bit of bad luck. That ball was right on the nose. He hit one in Milwaukee yesterday that on a non-windy day would have gone out to center. He had one similar to that Sunday in Arlington against these same Orioles. Gary Ward's hitting .267. And this one will be taken by either Eddie Murray or Alan Wiggins. Murray cradles it, and McGregor is retired, all 5.
Regressing just for a moment, Bob, to Pete Incaviglia's at bat. If he goes back to the bench, I can guarantee you that Art Howe and Bobby Valentine are going to pat him on the rear end very quickly and say, that a boy way to swing the bat, accentuating the positive things about that at bat. He hit the ball very sharply. It's important to be positive, even though the results were negative.
I guess the worst thing Pete can do now is to start getting down on himself. He's just a he's a young man that's not used to failure. And we certainly hope that he can bust out of this thing, because it'll also make better hitters of the guys in front of him and behind him. Pete O'Brien will certainly benefit in the number 3 spot if Pete starts to hit, and so will Gary Ward and Larry Parrish. Parrish with 7 RBIs to lead the club and a couple of home runs. McGregor with the high breaking ball, 1-1. Parrish a batting mark of 200. They play Larry deep, and Fred Lynn is way toward left center near the 387 mark. During the break between innings, they play deep in the heart of Texas on the PA here, as you see Don Slupp on deck, and that was a good old country hardball right there.
That's where Larry Parrish was trying to hit that fastball from Scott McGregor, too, right back to Texas.
On 1-2. A little bit low. In fact, they've got this shift on with the second baseman Wiggins to the shortstop side of the second base bag. You'd almost look out there and expect Frank Howard to be hitting. On 2-2. That one should be out of play to the right side.
That kind of shift is a little bit unusual for Larry Parrish, because when he is swinging the bat well, he has excellent power to right center field. Right now, Earl Weaver probably feels that early in the season, Larry Parrish is going to try and pull the ball more, his timing not down quite the way he would like to have it. So Earl Weaver employing a little early season strategy here. Bobby Valentine trying to get something going, too.
See what McGregor does on 2-2. Another fastball, and Larry skies it to Fred Lynn, and it'll be another 1-2-3. McGregor has struck out 1. He's retired 6 in a row. We're in the middle of the second inning here in Baltimore, and scoreless thus far. It's calm, clear, and 62 degrees here in Baltimore on a nice Friday night for baseball. And the pitchers are warm so far, with Mike Mason dueling Scott McGregor to a standoff. We'll see the 4, 5, and 6 hitters for the Orioles in the second. Eddie Murray, Fred Lynn, and Juan Beniquez. And we'll be back with you tomorrow night, 6:30 Texas time. Mickey Mailer and Mike Boddicker as the Rangers again duel the Baltimore Orioles in the middle of this road trip. And then we'll be with you also Monday night and Tuesday night from Toronto. Well, we'll put on our sweaters and our coats and sit by the lakeside and freeze with some April baseball in Canada.
I doubt that it will be calm and 62 degrees in Toronto.
Well, they measured in Celsius up there anyway. I still haven't figured that out. Fastball is low and outside from Mason to Eddie Murray, who's hitting 139 with a homer and 3 RBIs, all of which he collected yesterday in a doubleheader split at Toronto. Eddie from the right side is 2 for 14. That's about 140. He's 5 for 36 overall, but when he explodes, you better get out of the way. It is not caught. Pete Incaviglia tried his best. He made a pretty good play, but he was playing so deep, Steve. That would have been an unbelievable pickup for Pete Incaviglia.
Now, with, of course, the leadoff hitter Murray, you have to play deep because you do not want a ball to go to the wall if you can prevent it. Incaviglia has learned one thing already, or at least he had picked it up in college ball, how to try and decoy the umpire. He came up with this, showed it to second base umpire Rich Humphrey, and said, "Oh, I caught it. Come on now, the man's got to be out." Good try, though, by Pete. Also, he did a good job of keeping his body in front of it so that had he not trapped it, the ball would not get by him.
The replay showed the umpire indeed made the correct call, but a nice play by Incaviglia, who dropped a fly ball yesterday, so it's nice to see him come back and make a good play like that. That was a foul ball he dropped yesterday, and luckily it did not hurt late in the ball game. Fred Lynn is hitting .345. Former Boston Red Sox and California Angel outfielder. He's had a fine career. Eddie Murray at first is normally not a serious running threat. Pete O'Brien is holding him on, so Mr. Lynn has some hitting room through the right side. Lynn did not have a good year last year against left-handed pitching, hitting .242. In fact, his average for the year was almost 30 below his career. He had averaged .292 and batted .263 a year ago. One of the reasons the Orioles fell from grace atop the American League East.
Fred, throughout his career, has had problems against left-handers that had pretty good stuff. He is more or less a pull hitter, and if the breaking ball is of a good variety, he has trouble with that.
And he's facing a guy with a very good breaking ball and a good changeup. Juan Benitez, the man you saw on deck. Here's the 2-2, and he tried to buzz him with a fastball on the outside corner. Fred Lynn has a slugging percentage of .517. He's made his hits count. But again, this Oriole team batting .238, number 11 in the American League, with only 5 home runs so far in their first 9 ball games. And that one hurt. I wonder if he was wearing one of those Reed guards, they call him here. The Orioles trainer at AAA Rochester, by the last name of Reed, has designed a guard for the shins of the ball players. And he got some help from hitting instructor Terry Crowley of the Orioles staff in designing it. Some of the guys are wearing it. Fred Lynn is obviously not. And this one will play for Scott Fletcher. Infield fly rule was in effect. And it's 1 down. Well, I guess he was a little bit too far out for that. I saw some kind of signal from the third base umpire, but evidently he was just conversing during the pop-up with the second base umpire, Rich Humphrey. And here's a guy, Juan Benitez, who's given Mike Mason trouble throughout the times he's pitched against him. Juan Benitez is a guy that'll chase anything, anywhere.
He is, I think it's an understatement to say a free swinger, because if he sees the ball well, he's going to swing at it.
Like that. Can Fletcher reach it? No. Into left field for the second Baltimore hit. Eddie Murray stopping at second. And so they have runners, 2 on, 1 out, with Mike Young coming up.
Juan Benitez got a fastball in on his fist, which, as you and I talked with Mike Mason before the ball game, Bob, that's where Mason wanted to pitch him. He wanted to start him off inside to see if he couldn't get him swinging at that pitch. Made a very good pitch down below the trademark, but Benitez able to shovel it out into left field for that single.
Mike Young is the DH. He was a pinch hitter in the 7th inning Sunday at Arlington. Flew out to Gary Ward that time against Jose Guzman, who threw a pretty good game against Scott McGregor, but was victimized by a Cal Ripken bloop double late in the game that cost him the win. And we saw Mason buzz him inside that time, Steve. And pitching has changed a little bit in recent years. You can't throw inside like you used to be able to.
They've taken away a pitcher's ability to throw inside consistently. It's almost as if now, when you come close to a hitter, that an umpire can say, oh, he's throwing at the guy, and warn the pitcher and both managers, and that stops the whole thing. Takes away a lot from a pitcher.
Missed it inside. It's 2-1. I know that a guy like Andahar, that's hurt him really badly, because he's a pitcher that has to throw inside, and there are others, hard throwers. Can you imagine taking a Bob Gibson or a Don Drysdale and taking the inside pitch away from them during their careers? On 2-1, that's trouble. 1 run will score. It looks like runners will end up at second and third, and the Orioles lead 1-0 on a bloop double to right center from the bat of Mike Young.
Again, Mike Mason victimized on a pretty good pitch to Mike Young. He got the ball, it looked like, toward the inner part of the plate on his hands, and the ball slicing away from center fielder Gary Ward. Ward, of course, shading Young toward left center field, was not able to get there in time. Good job by Pete Incaviglia backing him up. But by the time Pete able to get the ball back in, a run is scored. Murray coming around. And Benika's on his way to third. Mike Young into second base. 1-0.
Eddie Murray, the man scoring from second on the play. He had to hold up a bit. And so the strategy of Bobby Valentine coming into play here a bit, Buzz. Would Odabe McDowell have made that play? Hard to say, because for Odabe, his glove is on the right side. He would have had to come across his body to try to catch that ball. But he does have a little more speed out there. But Gary Ward certainly gave it all he had. And you consider the hit by Murray in front of Incaviglia, the chinker from Benitez over the shortstop, and now that one. And as you say, Mason has not been hit hard, but he's in a peck of trouble right now.
Very frustrating for a pitcher to make the kinds of pitches you want and have the result be negative, as it has been so far for Mike Mason.
Odabe, by the way, on Sunday, 0 for 4 against McGregor, and that's one of the reasons that he's not in the ball game tonight. Scott really worked him over. Breaking ball low. Slot asking for an appeal at first base. John Shelby was in the lineup on Sunday. Was 0 for 4, but had a stolen base after reaching the fielder's choice. And it looked like Mason took a little bit off that time, and the ball tailed away from the right-handed hitter.
In this situation, second and third, first base open, and Rick Dempsey coming up next. Mike Mason probably will try and make very good pitches to John Shelby, meaning that he will try to stay away from the heart of the plate.
There's the changeup. Now Mason will throw a fastball in the 84-85 range. A changeup doesn't have to be 50 miles an hour to look like a changeup. He just took a little bit off, and he had Shelby way out in front, and the ball just dropped. That's his best pitch. That is Mike's self-admittedly, that is his out pitch. There's the fastball, and a big strikeout.
When you throw a changeup, as Mike Mason does, with very good motion, and then come back to the fastball inside, as he did to John Shelby on 1 and 2, it looks about a foot faster, or about 10 miles an hour faster to Shelby, and he just could not catch up with that.
Here's Rick Dempsey. Couple of homers and 4 RBIs for the hard-nosed Orioles catcher. Well, this is one of those important situations for pitcher and hitter. 2 outs. Hitter looking for that big 2-out hit to break the game wide open, and it could be a big lift for Mason with the strikeout, and then retiring Dempsey to get out of this one. On 1-0. Looked like Dempsey was sitting on that curveball and just couldn't get up high enough. You think he got away with one there?
I think he got away with one, yes. Rick Dempsey does not miss too many hangers, but fortunately for Mike Mason and the Rangers, he missed that one.
A ball and a strike with runners at second and third. There was the changeup again. Instead of breaking in on the hitter, it seemed to go almost straight down.
Even a little bit away, almost of a slight screwball action to a right-handed hitter. Very effective pitch for Mike Mason.
Well, he's got Dempsey where he'd like him, 1 and 2. Orioles have scored once on 3 hits. Buechel's got it. Long throw. Yes! Outstanding play by Steve Buechel. And it was the lack of speed by Dempsey that helped, but Steve certainly finished the play with an outstanding throw.
Any questions about the defensive ability of Steve Buechel? Toughest play for a third baseman because he cannot take time to plant his feet and throw. He has to throw off balance, and that right on the money to get Dempsey. A big play in this ball game.
Orioles got a run on 3 hits, and they left 2. Great pitching performance by Mason to get out of that one after some hard luck. And after 2, the O's lead at 1-0. Rangers have been retired 6 in a row here through the first 2. It'll be Slot, Paciorek, and Buechele in the third, and Steve Busby will describe the action for you.
Bob, thanks very much. 1-0 Oriole lead as we go to the top of the third inning. Don Slot so far, a .450 hitter, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, and he is only 1 at-bat, official at-bat, away from qualifying for the league leadership in batting, which he would, and McGregor out in front. No balls and a strike. Don Slot has hit in all 6 of the ball games in which he has appeared this year. A run on 3 hits in the second inning has put the Orioles on top, although the ball not hit sharply at all that inning, but the fortunes of war, as Mike Mason found out. 1-1 the count.
Buzz, would you agree with me that the good health of Don Slot is key to the Rangers' hopes in '86?
It is key, Bob, although there is some insurance sitting on the bench in Gino Petrale and Darrell Porter, an experienced player in Porter, and a very good backup player, backup catcher, and third baseman, as we found out, in Gino Petrale. So a little more depth this year for the Rangers behind the plate than they have had in the past. A ball and 2 strikes to count to Don Slot. Tom Paciorek, the on-deck hitter. Don Slot 4 out of 10 in that just completed series against the Orioles in Texas. Scott McGregor ready to deal. Line drive, left center field. That's going to fall in front of John Shelby. So the first base hit of the evening for the Rangers off the bat of Don Slot. And Paciorek will hit with 1 on and nobody out.
Don Slot got a tough time from his teammates yesterday in Milwaukee. With all the wild pitches and walks and runners coming around, Mark Holtz was quoted on radio in the last couple of innings and saying, Don Slot in goal today. Not catching, in goal, because it looked like he was stopping hockey pucks back there.
Had to be a tough day for Don Slot. I know it was a tough day for the umpires who had to sit behind there and call that. Tom Paciorek will move to first base. Scott McGregor, by the way, has an outstanding move to first base, so Don Slot needs to be a little bit careful over there. Paciorek hitting an even .400. Down low, ball 1. Tom has seen action in a couple of games this year, both of them against Baltimore, and he is 2 for 5. McGregor set for the 1-0 pitch and instead a move to first. Scott McGregor last year, 14-14 pitcher, and that is the only non-winning season he has had since 1977. And we have a pitch coming in and hit Tom Paciorek. It didn't get him very solidly. Matter of fact, it almost looked like it was going to tick off of his bat, but instead it got him on the back leg.
Batting ninth, the third baseman.
McGregor with the breaking ball down, and it got Tom on the outside of the right foot. And if you're going to get hit by a pitch, that's about as easy as you can get hit on a pitch like that. And now it's first and second, nobody out. We'll see what Steve Buechele, who had a home run at Milwaukee yesterday, can do.
One thing about a pitch like that, it will let you know if you have any ingrown toenail problems. Take care of them right there. So now the Rangers with something going here in the top of the third inning. 2 on, nobody out. Steve Buechele, a .318 hitter at the plate. Orioles have Juan Beniquez up at the bag at third. There's a bluff bunt and taken outside, ball 1. Buechele 1 out of 7 against Baltimore in Arlington. Scored a run in that series. He has a couple of home runs, 3 RBIs on the young season. Good shot of the defense. Both Eddie Murray and Juan Beniquez up expecting the sacrifice from the number 9 hitter, Steve Buechele. No sign of a bunt here, and that's fouled off first base side. 1-1 the count. Well, Bobby Valentine playing a few games here early in this contest. Had the bunt on, or at least a show of bunt the first pitch, then let Steve Buechele have a shot at the next McGregor offering.
Well, the folks driving around the Metroplex have been seeing our billboards out there calling it V-ball. I'm sure we'll see some V-ball throughout the '86 season. You've heard of Billy Ball, Whitey Ball. Well, now we've got V-ball in the Metroplex.
And so far, it has been very much a winner. There go the runners. Hit run on, a fly ball well hit center field, but Lynn will have room. And back to second slot to first Pachorik. So a fake bunt, first pitch. A straight swing on the second pitch, and a hit and run on the third pitch.
Just what we talked about. That is V-ball. And he's doing those things, Buzz, with the bottom of the order, trying to make some things happen in that 7, 8, 9 position. You get those guys on base and make some things happen for the other guys at the top of the order, then you're setting yourself up for some big innings. Bobby is not a guy who's going to sit around and play station-to-station baseball.
He likes that action. He likes the aggressiveness because it makes people make good plays to defeat you, and that's the key to Bobby's success with the young Rangers.
And he also knows he's playing a team that made 5 errors in a doubleheader yesterday.
That might have something to do with the strategy. Scott Fletcher out on a ground ball to shortstop, his first time up. 1 gone, 2 on. We're in the top of the 3rd inning. 1-0, Baltimore on top. McGregor from the belt for the first pitch to Scott Fletcher. Hard hit ball up the middle, base hit. Around third and coming in to score, Don Slott. Freddie Lynn will not make an attempt. Just lob the ball back into Cal Ripken. We have a brand new ball game at 1 apiece. And Scott Fletcher, RBI number 3 on this year.
Well, right up the middle, he took it. Slott knew the ball was through. He scored easily. And now first and second again, and you've got Hera O'Brien coming up.
Well, and Scott Fletcher continues to impress everyone involved. He had a great spring, 424 for an average. He had 7 RBIs in 66 plate appearances, so he is continuing his hot hitting.
He did not lose the shortstop job to Curtis Wilkerson. Curtis is the guy Bobby wanted to go with. But here we see Scott in there, batting leadoff, and a big RBI there.
Toby Hera takes that breaking ball in and over. Strike 1. Hera flied to right field his first time up. So Toby off to a bit of a slow start. Came into the ball game hitting at 174. Chance here to increase his RBI total, which already stands at 5. He has Tom Pachorik at second base. And over at first base, Scott Fletcher. 1 out and a bluff move to second. And the throw almost got Pachorik. That almost was a balk because Scott McGregor turned inside, and it looked like he stopped before he got pointed towards second base. On the replay, he did not. Now, if he had stopped before he had made a move towards second, it would have been a balk because first base is occupied. If you make a move toward first base, you must throw over there when it is occupied. That has to be an entire pivot.
That's Ken Rowe, the pitching coach of the Orioles, with Rick Dempsey. You know, this ball club's been here since 1953 when they moved from St. Louis, the old St. Louis Browns. In the bullpen for Baltimore is Dennis Martinez. They've only had 4 pitching coaches in that time. Ken Rowe is the 4th in 33 years. And he's only been here for a year.
And they have had outstanding pitching, too, all throughout the years. Boy, this has been just phenomenal as far as a dynasty for developing pitchers. Matter of fact, one in the booth just a couple of spots down, Jim Palmer tonight. Pitch to Hera's down low.
We've got 2 hard-throwing right-handers doing play-by-play in the ballpark. Busby and Palmer.
I thought you were going to say Lowenstein and Palmer. A ball and a strike, 1 out, 2 on. Toby Hera, the hitter. Tom Pachorik, a vantage point as he leads away from second base to take a look at Rick Dempsey's signs. Another pickoff attempt at second, and this one almost thrown away. Good job by Alan Wiggins avoiding Tom Pachorik. Pachorik went back in standing up and almost screened Wiggins out of the play.
Boy, threw it into the runner. Wiggins just in time.
That the more conventional pickoff attempt at second. Now the count still 1-1 to Toby Hera. McGregor coming toward the plate. 2-1. Toby Harrah, last year 113 walks, missed by 1 of leading the American League. White Evans besting him on the last day of the season.
Toby had a season that was better than a lot of people thought he was capable of at this stage of his career.
It had been 3 years since he had played consistently, and it had been longer than that. There go the runners. They hit and run, and a one-hopper to Wiggins. He goes a second, not in time. The relay to Murray. Here comes Pachorik to throw, and they get it. That will be scored. A double play as it goes 4-6, 3-2. And it almost worked had the Orioles not crossed up Bobby Valentine by having Cal Ripken cover second base instead of Alan Wiggins. The throw gets Pachorik. But the Rangers come back and tie it up. A run on 2 hits. They strand 1 after 2.5. Baltimore 1, Texas 1.
This copyrighted sports broadcast is authorized under television rights granted by the Texas Rangers Baseball Club solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, rebroadcast, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, or accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Texas Rangers Baseball Club and Gaylord Broadcasting is prohibited.
That's pretty good for your first Ranger disclaimer. Sound like you've done that once or twice. Bottom of the 3rd inning, a very crazy top of the 3rd inning. It all ended with a 4-6-3-2 double play, and boy, for the want of normal coverage on the Oriole defensive part, that could have been an extremely large inning. Top of the order, Alan Wiggins to lead things off against Mike Mason in an over, strike 1. Wiggins, a ground ball to shortstop his first time up. Allen off to a slow start, came into this ball game hitting at just 135.
Steve, it's not easy for a player to come back after a layoff like Wiggins had, whether it's a drug problem, which he had, or an injury.
It's difficult, especially from a mental standpoint. That's inside, 2-1. But you get out of the habit of competing, out of being reacting instinctively, and it doesn't take long to forget some of the things that you didn't even think about before as far as going after balls and hitting and that type of thing. That misses, and it's 3 balls and a strike to Wiggins. Have to admire the man last year after all the problems, came back and did an outstanding job for this Baltimore ball club. 3-1 pitch is outside, ball 4.
And when you walk Wiggins, you're asking for trouble. Just ask Jose Guzman. He did it in the 8th inning on Sunday, and it led to the winning runs. With Wiggins gets on base, Baltimore is not just a potent club, they are very dangerous.
He joined the Baltimore club last year, last July, as a matter of fact, and from that point on stole 30 bases. He is only the 5th Baltimore Oriole in history, in their history, to steal 30 bases or more. But he's on first. Mason a close eye on him, and Lee Lacy takes it downstairs, ball 1. Lacy grounded to third his first time up. He's now 5 for 14 against Ranger pitching this year.
Mike Mason, not known as a guy with an outstanding move or a very quick release. Although that time he had Wiggins leaning back in.
2-0 the count. Tom House has worked very, very hard all during spring training. Cal Ripken Sr., the third base coach, giving the signs. But Tom House has really stressed the importance to the Ranger pitchers of holding runners close. Tom House, by the way, had a very good move as a left-hander at first base, and there's Mason's move. But what he stressed was you don't have to have the greatest move in the world to keep runners honest. It's varying the timing, the rhythm, the flow of your motion toward home plate to keep the runners off balance, not let them get a walking lead. Now, there's another example of it, the little snap throw to first. That'll give Alan Wiggins something else to think about.
Wiggins does not have the big lead. You can usually tell if you're sitting in the stands, if he gets out to where the curve of the infield grass ends, he's going. Now they've got him picked up.
O'Brien, a bad throw to Fletcher, and they cannot get Wiggins. That will most likely be scored a stolen base. It is.
Pete tried so hard to avoid the runner that he almost put it into the outfield.
O'Brien does a good job here. Watch him come off the bag to get the throw, so he has the angle to hit Fletcher, and just simply made a bad throw over Wiggins' head on the outfield side of second base. Oh, a stolen base. Wiggins now in scoring position. The count 2 balls and no strikes to Lee Lacy. 3-0. Right now, while we have a chance, let's pause 5 seconds for station identification. This is the Texas Rangers Baseball Network.
You're watching the Texas Rangers on KTVT Channel 11, Fort Worth, Dallas.
Steve Busby and Bob Carpenter with you. Hope you're enjoying this ball game. A lot of crazy things have happened thus far. We're only in the bottom of the 3rd inning. A 1-1 ball game, but we have seen some unusual plays. 3-0 pitch on the way to Lee Lacy is right down through that 3-1. Alan Wiggins picked off first base, and an errant throw allowed him, or I shouldn't say an errant throw because it was a stolen base, but he was able to advance to second. Cal Ripken Jr., the on-deck hitter. 3-1, 1 on, nobody out. Popped him up, right side. O'Brien calling right at the edge of the outfield grass, 1 gone. So Mike Mason, after falling behind Lee Lacy 3-0, comes back to get him on a 3-1 pop-up, and that will bring up Cal Ripken. By the way, Alan Wiggins' stolen base was the 8th for the Baltimore Orioles this year. They have been caught 3 times as a team.
Cal Ripken is playing in his 613th consecutive game.
First pitch is a fastball on the inside corner, strike 1. That is your basic Ironman.
That's only 5,500 innings.
And he has not missed an inning in those, well, it's been almost 600 games. An incredible feat considering today's travel that the ball players have to endure, the length of the season. There goes Wiggins toward third. The pitch is a ball. The throw, they will not get it.
And I think it's safe to say he stole that one on Mike Mason, not on the catcher. He had a huge jump.
You're exactly right, Bob. Mike Mason made the mistake of only looking 1 time at Alan Wiggins at second base, turning and throwing, and no chance there for Don Slott.
Wiggins stolen bases number 2 and 3 in this inning.
One more look at it. The pitch to Ripken, right back to the middle, base hit. And the 2 stolen bases pay off for the Orioles as they go ahead in this ball game now, 2-1. RBI number 8 for Cal Ripken.
Well, he's one of the best hitters in baseball with men on base. He showed you why right there. Rip, they call him in Baltimore. And we talked earlier that Wiggins is the catalyst of this offense when he gets on base, especially leading off an inning with the 2 stolen bases. That's what you call manufacturing a run.
Cal Ripken, by the way, has hit over 300 the last 3 years with runners in scoring position. Here's another man that's not too bad at hitting with runners aboard, Eddie Murray. Murray singled and scored the first Oriole run last inning. Well, Eddie getting untracked after an extremely slow start. 1-0, the count from Mike Mason. Got the outside corner, and it's 1-1. I wouldn't look for any hit and run in this situation or steal by Earl Weaver. This is one of those cases where you might move station to station. What he's hoping for is that both men move all the way around to home.
Yeah. Well, he's already manufactured 1 run in the inning.
Dave Rosema in the Ranger bullpen. That's downstairs.
And now it's time to let the big boys do what they do best. go for the extra base hit.
Earl Weaver, the eternal proponent of the 3-run home run, only could get a 2-runner right now. Mason's delivery, a broken bat ground ball. Nice play by Bouchel. He goes to second for 1. The relay throw, and they get a pair. And boy, Murray looked like he slowed up as he neared first base. That ball hit very slowly. But the Rangers turn the double dip. 5-4-3 job, and we're through in the third. The Orioles, however, come up with a run on a hit. Nobody left after 3. It's Baltimore 2 and Texas 1.
Well, you're looking at Pete O'Brien, who is leading off for the Rangers here in the 4th, and we're going to, as we go along here in the inning, explain our Goodies home run jackpot, which we'll be doing throughout the season. The top of the 4th is the inning we've chosen tonight, and Pete O'Brien is batting for E.D. King in Fort Worth, and a home run will be worth $500 to any fan whose name is mentioned with a particular hitter tonight. Buzz, so take it away.
So E.D. King hoping right here that Scott McGregor gives up the long ball to Pete O'Brien. O'Brien struck out his first time up. 2-1 Baltimore. Ground ball that will be handled by Murray, the underhand toss. And Scott McGregor records the putout, 1 gone. So E.D. King, Fort Worth, sorry about that. We'll have to wait until another time.
You can send in your entries to the Goodies home run jackpot at P.O. Box 2495, Fort Worth, 76113. Put that on a 3x5 card with your name, address, and your phone number, and we'll enter you in the Goodies home run jackpot, and you might win some money. And here's a guy who certainly can hit one out and would love to break out of his offensive doldrums right now. But he hit the ball hard his first time.
Pete Incaviglia lined to center field very hard his first time up, and Bob Hutchinson of Dallas is hoping that Pete can hit his second home run of the year. So this is for Bob Hutchinson of Dallas. Breaking ball misses, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike.
By the way, if nobody hits one tonight, it'll go to $600 tomorrow night. And to answer your earlier question, Buzz, no, you are not eligible to get your name on the list.
I've already sent my postcards in. Chips foul, 1 and 2. You mean they're going to be rejected?
Yeah, that one will go into file 13. And also, if a player hits a grand slam during one of our designated innings, that fan aligned with his name will win, count 'em, $10,000.
That's the one I'm going to enter. Incaviglia down swinging. And Scott McGregor records his second strikeout of the night. He has gotten O'Brien and Incaviglia. So 2 outs here in the top of the 4th inning.
Here's the breaking ball. Down and in.
Pretty good location from the left-hander to Big Pete. One more shot at it. That is, if you're going to diagram where to throw a breaking ball from a left-hander to a right-hander, that would be it.
Yeah, you don't throw strikes when you're ahead in the count, do you?
Well, you like to get strikes like that. All right, Gary Ward now hitting, and in our Goodies home run jackpot inning, Joanne Dean of Hearst will be pulling for Gary Ward. Joanne Dean of Hearst. 2 outs here in the top of the 4th. And the pitch to Ward, hot smash, base hit right field. Gary Ward aboard, a 2-out single. That is the 3rd hit of the night off of Scott McGregor, and that will bring up Larry Parrish. Gary Ward 1 for 2 now. He popped out his first time up. Parrish fly to center field. And Dave Stonehouse of Arlington. He's the man that will be pulling for Larry Parrish. Have a chance here to win Dave Stonehouse of Arlington $500 if Larry can connect. Goodies home run jackpot. McGregor, a long look, and now a little toss over to first base, just giving Gary Ward something to think about. Doubtful that with Parrish at the plate and 2 outs, that Ward would try and steal in this situation. Give the big man a chance to put the Rangers back on top, or put them on top for the first time tonight. It's 2-1 Baltimore. McGregor, a long look, and coming plateward, finds the strike zone with a breaking ball. 0-1. Larry, in his 4 years as a Ranger, has averaged 17 home runs a season. Coming over in 1982 from the Montreal Expos. Toss over to first base again. So Scott McGregor keeping an eye on Gary Ward just in case. Gary having thoughts of trying to get into scoring position. Again, the shift on by Baltimore. Now time called as Parrish tired of waiting. The infield, all three infielders on the left side, Beniquez and shortstop Cal Ripken and second baseman Alan Wiggins. All on the third base side of second. Outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. So a gaping hole on the right side for Larry. See what he can do here. McGregor set for the 1-1 pitch. Chop foul at the plate, 1-2. Larry, of course, last year missing about 2 months of the season with the knee problems that came back in September and wore that big brace. It really slowed him down, prevented him from playing defensively. And this year, the designated hitter. Larry in his abbreviated season last year with the Rangers, .249 hitter. Tall, strike 3. So McGregor, the backdoor breaking ball, and a 2-out single by Gary Ward wasted for the Rangers in the 4th. After 3.5, it is Baltimore 2 and Texas 1. Welcome back to Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. A 2-1 Oriole lead as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. Mike Mason finishing his tosses. I want to remind you to join us again tomorrow night on KTVT, the Ranger Network, as once again the Orioles and Rangers lock up here in Baltimore. It will be Mickey Mailer and Mike Boddicker. Boddicker 1-0 on the year. Mickey Mailer going after his first victory. He has a 1.35 ERA, so be a good matchup tomorrow night. Middle game of this 3-game set in Baltimore. For the Orioles in the bottom of the 4th, it'll be Lynn, Beniquez, and Young. Fred Lynn popped out his first time up. Freddie came into the ball game hitting at .345, a home run, 4 RBIs. Mike Mason bouncing the breaking ball, and it's 1 ball, no strikes. Fred Lynn, the only player to ever win the Rookie of the Year and the MVP in the same year, 1975, with the Boston Red Sox. That's in the same year his teammate now, Cal Ripken Jr., won them back-to-back. Fred Lynn, the only one to garner those 2 awards in the same season. Good pitch from Mason on the outside corner.
Not an easy thing for a left-handed hitter to do at Fenway Park. Got to learn how to take that ball to left a little bit, don't you?
Yes, that you do. Tried to get out of the way and fouled it back third base side. It's 2-2. And how about having a man in contention named Jim Rice on the same ball club?
Yeah.
There was a little controversy that year about who should get what.
The Green Monster is a flick of the wrist away for that guy. What about this ballpark, Buzz, as far as a pitcher's park and the dimensions?
Pretty good pitcher's park. Early in the year especially. Just missing 3 and 2, Mike Mason. Very good alleys, 387 to both left center, right center, 405 to dead center, but the ball does not carry all that well, especially at night here. Hard hit ground ball, base hit center field. But Fred Lynn reaching out and getting that 3-2 pitch back up the middle as a leadoff single here in the 4th. That is the 5th hit of the evening for the Orioles. It will bring up Juan Beniquez, who has one of those 5 hits, a second inning single. one, Benique, as we talked about him being a free swinger, he has become a better hitter with age. He became one of the California Angels' premier hitters. He's going to bunt, and he pops it toward the mound. A good play by Mason. And back to first in time, Freddie Lynn. Mike Mason really coming off the mound like a cat to make that sliding catch.
Designated hitter, Mike.
And immediately getting instructions from Don Slaught, thinking about the runner at first base. You know, guys like Mike Mason, who played at Oral Roberts University, have an advantage over some of the other college pitchers in the country. His name is Jim Brewer, who's an assistant coach out there in Tulsa, and he really works with those young pitchers there.
Have an excellent program at Oral Roberts. Fly ball off the bat of Mike Young, deep right center field, but enough room for Gary Ward to gather that in about halfway back on the warning track in front of the 387 marker. Yes, it is a good pitcher's ballpark.
And you told me earlier you need a good center fielder in this park as well. And for years they had the best in Paul Blair.
Amazing, because he played so shallow here. There's an awful lot of room in center field, left center, right center. And Paul Blair played as shallow as any center fielder I have ever seen. George Wright tried to do that when he first came up with the Rangers. But, boy, that's almost an impossible thing to do. The hitter now, John Shelby, with 2 outs, and still at first base, Fred Lynn after his leadoff single. But you could not hit a ball over the head of Paul Blair, which was the amazing thing. He cut off so many singles in front of, or what it would have been singles in front of him by playing shallow, but you couldn't hit a ball over his head in this ballpark. Shelby, a strikeout victim, the only one recorded thus far by Mike Mason. 2 runs on 5 hits for the Orioles, a run on 3 hits for the Rangers. Little toss to first base, Fred Lynn back. Mike Young, by the way, had an RBI double back in the 2nd inning. Bases delivery, line shot, stabbed by Buechele. Boy, Buechele playing up even with the bag against Shelby, really had to react in a hurry. Outstanding play by the young third baseman. So that will end the inning. No runs. A leadoff single squandered by Baltimore. After 4, the Orioles 2 and the Rangers 1. All set to go. Top of the 5th inning. And once again, to take you along with a play-by-play, Bob Carpenter.
Thank you, Buzz. We are in the 5th. Slaught, Paciorek, and Buechele for the Rangers, who've been out hit 5-3 and outscored 2-1. Don Slaught single to left his first time up, and later scored on the RBI base hit by Scott Fletcher, and then the bizarre double play ended that threat. Had a rip, but it was down low, similar to the breaking ball he threw to Incaviglia that had the bottom drop out of it. We have some folks back in the Metroplex we want to say hello to tonight. Ginger Petrick, happy 33rd birthday from her Oriole fans, celebrating in the designated hitters box tonight. She's watching in Arlington. She has fans up here. They sent us some birthday cake. We appreciate that. And some folks here would like to say hello to Mike Long, who lives in Dallas, from his brother and sister here in Baltimore. Two and 1 the count to the Ranger catcher. That's another hit. So Slaught went down low and got it, rifled it to left field, similar to how he hit his first one. And Don, who has been swinging a good bat lately, he had 3 hits and 5 at-bats yesterday at Milwaukee, including 2 RBIs and a home run. 3 RBIs and a homer in that 7-5 win, is aboard to lead off the 5th. Tom Paciorek was hit by a pitch to move Slaught on to second. Back in that 1-run 3rd inning. Little calling card toss from McGregor to Murray. Paciorek looking for that first RBI of the year. He's 2 for 5 in the ball games he's played. Talked to Tom around the batting cage Sunday down in Arlington, and I asked him if any of the young hitters had come to him for any advice yet. He said, no, not yet. But I have a feeling that sometime during the season, some of the young guys will call on the expertise of this veteran. Boy, I tell you, he had some monster seasons in minor league ball before the Dodgers brought him up. Been around the big leagues some the last few years. Slaughter short lead. McGregor on 0-1. Upstairs with it. Yankees and Milwaukee are tied 5-5 in the 8th. White Sox are losing again, 2-1 in the 8th. Seaver against Hurst in that one. And I don't think the Hawk Harrelson will stand for much more in Chicago. They gave up 10 again last night. The Cubs lost again today. Rick Sutcliffe is 0-3 in the National League as the Pirates beat them 4-0. And the Cardinals are 6-1. John Tudor has 3 of them. He's 3-0. As former American leaguer Mike Heath hit a 2-run homer for the Cardinals at Montreal. They won it there 4-2. We'll update you on the baseball throughout the evening. That's a good breaking ball. I think Tom was looking for something else. He was frozen in his tracks, and it's 1-2.
I think the look back at home plate umpire Greg Kosk may have been questioning, but more of a sense of saying, I got fooled, did you?
You don't fool the umpires too often, do you? All the American League Baseball, by the way, is under the lights tonight. Minnesota's at California. Cleveland's at Detroit. KC at Toronto. Dennis Leonard against Dave Steve, who's 0-2. There's another hit. Paciorek rifles one through the hole, and the Rangers have something going again. Same duo as back in the 3rd. That time Slaughter hit and Paciorek hit by a pitch, and this time back-to-back singles. And Steve Buechele, who lined out hard to center on a hit and run in that inning, will now bat again as he looks to third base coach Tim Foley for instructions.
Frank Robinson and Earl Weaver are taking a look from the Oriole dugout. McGregor got ahead of Paciorek with 3 very good pitches. It was 1-2, and then made a mistake. He got a breaking ball up and out over the plate, and Paciorek made him pay for it.
Well, the Orioles lead at 2-1. Each team with 5 hits now. But the Rangers are making some noise here. In the 5th, it's Buechele with the infield in. And he'll fly out to the right fielder. Will the runner tag? Yes. And the throw from Lacey. Hit the cutoff man perfectly. Buechele, first pitch swinging. Lee Lacey, good solid right fielder. Not a Dwight Evans with the arm, but then again, who is?
You're right about that, Bob. That fly ball off the bat of Steve Buechele, just not quite deep enough for Don Slott to take the chance at second base, trying to tag up and move over.
Interesting, that's twice now in a row with first and second, nobody out, that Bobby Valentine. Well, we saw Buechele offer at the bunt one time, but then flying out on a hit and run pitch, and this time going after the first pitch with the swing. So Bobby seems to be playing for more than one right now. Scott Fletcher's been a clutch performer lately. He's 1 for 2 tonight with an RBI. So he's added a point or two to the 353 mark that he came into the ball game with. 3 ribbies on the year. An off-speed breaking pitch upstairs. With the White Sox last year, Scott hit .256 in 119 games, but he only had 301 at-bats. Had a couple of homers and 31 RBIs. He's in his 4th major league season. From Fort Walton Beach, Florida, down the Panhandle. And McGregor now behind in the count.
And I know the entire coaching staff really likes Scott Fletcher, but there's one guy in particular, third base coach Tim Foley, who really has to like Fletcher, because they're the same kind of hitter.
I was going to ask you, is that because he sees a little bit of himself in Scott?
I think so. They're both, Tim Foley, a very good line drive hitter, a very pesky hitter, almost impossible to strike out. And Scott Fletcher, the same type of hitter, very aggressive at the plate, gives you a small target, as you can see, for a pitcher to throw to.
Good man in this situation, but that one will be easy for Fred Lynn. So the runners are still at first and second with 2 down, and it's up to the veteran Toby Hara to get the big 2-out hit the Rangers need to tie or take the lead. This Baltimore staff leads the American League in ERA at 2.52, and Buzz, their starters are 1.98 on the year so far. And if you take away the first 2 innings of the season, when they had problems here against Cleveland, they're down around 1.26.
And almost as important, if not as important, the starters have gotten the ball club, ball's fouled by Toby Hara, have gotten their ball club into the 7th inning in each of the starts. That's a very important thing, because then you do not wear the bullpen out.
Martinez loosening up again. You see Elrod Hendricks, who had some pretty good career years here at Baltimore behind the plate. Back in their glory days of McNally and Palmer and Belanger and Brooks and all of those fine players who put a lot of pennants up in this ballpark. Frank Robinson, Boog Powell. One and one, 2 outs. We're in the top of the 5th. The Rangers down by a run. Baltimore's never trailed in the game. Rangers are unbeaten on the road so far. There's the breaking ball at the letters. Toby again, I think, looked like a hittable curveball upstairs a little bit, but McGregor seems to have the Ranger hitters guessing wrong a lot tonight.
He also does something that's very important a young pitcher can pattern himself after. He's able to change speeds on the breaking ball, so even when he makes a mistake in the strike zone, the change of velocity still can keep a hitter off balance.
On 1 and 2, there's the base hit. Here comes the runner around third, and Slot will score without a play. And there's the big 2-out hit we talked about from the veteran Toby Hara, and the game is tied. May have busted his bat, but he fought off the pitch and got it into right field.
Pretty good piece of hitting there by Toby Hara, and that is where experience comes in. You're right, Bob. He did not hit the ball sharply, but he was able to fight off a pitcher's pitch from Scott McGregor, drop it in front of Lee Lacy. And now they're runners at the corners after Don Slaught able to score from second base.
RBI singles tonight by Fletcher and Hara. Now we'll see if Pete O'Brien can make it hurt with 2 outs. Earl Weaver with his pitching coach, Ken Wade. Those 2-out hits hurt.
The 2 outs hit hurt. They all, especially a man like Earl Weaver, who has had ball clubs that were used to beating other clubs on 2-out hits. That is one of the big things about Baltimore tradition.
O'Brien takes a fastball. In there for a strike. Pete is leading the American League in batting average now. 444, at least that was coming in. He's 0 for 2 tonight. And his slugging percentage, an unheard of 852. 1,000 being just about perfect. Slugging percentages is basically sort of a misunderstood stat. People don't know a whole lot about it. It basically means that the higher your percentage, the better you are with extra base hits and with men on base. That one is out of here if it's fair. Kiss it goodbye. Pete O'Brien, a 3-run shot with 2 outs, and it's a 4-run Texas 5th and a 5-2 lead. How's that for a slug? And for Pete O'Brien, nicely done. The folks at Budweiser salute that shot. Pete O'Brien, for all you do, this Bud's for you.
Pete O'Brien got a mistake from Scott McGregor, and McGregor has made 2 now back-to-back, and they have each cost him a mistake to Tom Paciorek, I shouldn't say back-to-back, Toby Era fought off a good pitch, but that a mistake breaking ball up in the strike zone to Pete O'Brien, and O'Brien drove it a good 390 feet to right field, the 3-run home run. Can you imagine what Earl Weaver's thinking right now? A 2-out single, which is what I preach, the 3-run home run, which is what I'm the proponent of, and it's beaten us. That's not supposed to happen to Baltimore.
Well, we'll take a timeout here while Scott McGregor heads for the showers, and Earl Weaver makes the pitching change. The big hit by Hera, the big homer by O'Brien. The Rangers lead at 5-2. We'll return to Baltimore after these messages. Dennis Martinez in his 10th year, 13 and 11 a year ago, in a starting role with no saves. Out of the bullpen this time around, Buzz.
He has been one of the main starters for Earl Weaver and the Baltimore Orioles, dating back to 1976. Coming into this year, as you mentioned, his first appearance of 1986, has won 108 Major League ball games. He has been a mainstay from that starting position. Now Earl Weaver using him in a middle role, but I have to believe that as the schedule wears on and as the games pile up, that Dennis Martinez will be the number 5 starter for Baltimore. So a 5-2 Ranger lead. Pete O'Brien, his 3rd home run of the year, a 3-run shot, has given the Rangers that lead. Well, 5 or 4 runs on the board thus far in the top of the 5th inning. And Martinez will face Big Pete Incaviglia.
Pete is 0 for 2 tonight, 3 for 34 on the year. Martinez, a pitcher that last year was susceptible to the gopher ball. He gave up 29 home runs in 180 innings. Rangers leading 5-2 with a 4-run 5th. And Martinez threw the first one about 58 feet.
It was a good breaking ball, though. It had a big break on it.
You right-handers can always find something positive about everything, can't you? That one's out of play down the right side.
Well, you have to sometimes, Bob. I mean, as many negative things as you could look at, there has to be something positive in it.
I hear you. Incaviglia robbed on a good play by Fred Lynn in the 2nd, struck out swinging in the 4th. There's another 58-footer. That time will accentuate the good play of Dempsey to glove it on the short out. 2-1.
That may have been 58-6. You might have gotten a little bit farther.
They need to check the mound in the bullpen. Maybe it's too close to home plate out there.
Could be.
There's a breaking ball at the knees. Dennis Martinez has not been the same pitcher since his bout with alcohol abuse 3 years ago. He's posted some records of 6-9, 7-16, and then 13-11 a year ago as he turned things around a bit. But he had a 5.15 ERA. And the strikeout to walk ratio was not good. 63 walks, 68 strikeouts. Managers like to see a 2-1 or better in favor of the K's. There's the fastball, missed with it. Count full to the Ranger right fielder. The big thing about this inning, Buzz, all 4 runs scored with 2 outs.
That really pumps up a ball club. It gives you a very positive feeling when you get the key 2-out hits.
Pete did not offer at the ball. He showed good discipline in staying off that 3-2 pitch in the dirt. So maybe that shows you that he learned something last time up there.
Even though Pete is 0 for 2 officially tonight, he has had what I would consider 2 good at-bats.
Yeah.
Lined out very hard his first time up, and this last time he showed excellent discipline at the plate.
Gary Ward with 2 outs and a runner at first. I think it's safe to say that Incaviglia is not a stealing threat, but then we're playing V-ball, so you never really know for sure, because he'll start the runners and start the bat. But you don't want to take the bat out of Gary Ward's hands, who has the possibility to drive the ball to the alleys and chase a runner home with 2 outs. That one got away from Martinez.
Well, one thing about Gary Ward, as many breaking balls as Dennis Martinez is throwing, Tim Foley down there giving some signs.
That was Havens, the left-hander. Brad Havens for the Orioles.
Gary Ward is an excellent breaking ball hitter. Possibly the best on the Ranger ball club because he stays back so well. That's why he hits the ball a lot to right and right center field. Has better power to right field than any right-hander I've seen in a long time.
Milwaukee got a run in the 8th. The Yankees are batting in the top of the 9th, trailing at County Stadium, 6-5. Ward up the middle. That will get through. Incaviglia making the turn. He'll challenge Lynn's throwing arm and make it easily. And the Rangers have runners at the corners as they continue to make noise with the wood after 2 are out.
Hey, Pete Incaviglia showing some pretty good speed there, going from first to third on that well-hit ground ball back up the middle by Ward.
Hitter, Larry Parrish.
Ball just by Cal Ripken, and Fred Lynn with a much better than average throwing arm. Not even a thought of trying to get Incaviglia at third base.
He was playing pretty deep with Ward at the plate. Ken Rowe to the mound, which would indicate we will not have a pitching change here. The big boss usually comes out when someone's about to be hooked out of there. But Brad Havens is heating up in the bullpen, a left-hander. Martinez has walked in Incaviglia on a 3-2 pitch and given up a single to Gary Ward. And now Larry Parrish, the 9th man to bat in the inning, could really make it go ouch. With 2 outs, the base hit by Hara, the homer by O'Brien, a walk and a hit.
Excuse me, Bob, but Earl Weaver would like the right-hander Martinez to be able to get out of this inning because this is a right-handed hitting lineup that the Rangers have thrown out there, and bringing in the left-hander Havens would just play right into Bobby Valentine's hands at this point.
Another hit. Rangers lead 6-2. Ward will go to third easily, and Larry Parrish has an RBI single. He went the other way beautifully.
Larry Parrish can probably hit the most vicious line drives of any hitter you're going to see in Major League Baseball. And that was a rocket to right field.
Catcher,
Boy, he took it down the line beautifully. Easily scoring was Incaviglia from third. Ward is now at third. And the 10th man to bat in the inning is Don Slott, who started the whole thing with the base hit, later scored on the single by Toby Hara. Slott's 2 for 2. Fastball for a strike. Rangers in the inning, 5 hits and 5 plated.
Hate to be redundant, but it's all been with 2 outs.
Boy, and the walk really hurt.
Yeah.
And there's a good play by Dempsey. That ball bounced about 2 feet in front of the plate. And the reason I measure that for you is that's not a short hop. It's a short hop for the catcher if it hits near the plate or even with the plate. 2 feet out in front, it's an in-between the hop. And that's when it's tough for the catcher to keep the body in front of the ball and prevent the wild pitch.
And that far out in front of the catcher, you really have no idea which way the ball may bounce, may skid off the dirt.
On 1-1. Slott trying to go down the right side, slicing it foul. 1-2. Mets are leading Philly in the 7th, 3-2 behind former Ranger farmhand Ron Darling. Valenzuela pitching for the Dodgers, but they're trailing 6-3 in the 7th at Atlanta. Dale Murphy's hit a 2-run shot, his 3rd in that game. Or I should say his 3rd of the season in that game. On 1-2. Slott, there's another one. It's a 6-run inning as Ward scores and Parrish goes to third. It's a Ranger merry-go-round with 2 outs. And Slott is 3 for 3. And here comes the man.
Don Slott fighting off a pretty good pitch from Dennis Martinez there to drive in Gary Ward. And when things start going right, as we mentioned, this is all happening with 2 outs. It's so critical. things keep going right, and as Bobby Valentine loves to see, everybody that comes to the plate finds a way to get the job done.
Hope you're enjoying the Rangers' debut on the Super Ones this year. We certainly are. Texas 7, Baltimore 2. Back with more from Memorial Stadium in just a moment. Brad Havens, a left-hander, is out of Highland Park, Michigan. He's 25 years old, 8-10 at Rochester last year, the Orioles AAA. 0-1 here at Baltimore in 8 games with a 8.79 ERA. It's his 3rd year in the big leagues, and he comes on to relieve Martinez, who retired no one in giving 3 hits, a walk, and he may be responsible for as many as 4 runs.
Well, Dennis Martinez off to a very dubious beginning of 1986. He still has not retired anyone, and he will not have an ERA since they just put down infinity for that. But a tough outing for Dennis Martinez, although his replacement, Brad Havens, has not fared well this year. This is his 3rd appearance. He is 0-1 with an ERA of 27. His last outing yesterday in that 2nd game, a loss to Toronto, worked a 1/3 of an inning, gave up a hit and a run. The Rangers trying to keep things going in this big 5th inning.
Tom Paciorek is the 11th man to bat here in the 5th. We've seen 6 straight hitters reach safely with 2 outs. Off-speed pitch inside, and just remember one pitch. You won't see it show up in the box score, but it was the 3-2 breaking ball that Pete Incaviglia laid off after the home run by O'Brien that kept this inning alive, and then the guys with the lumber behind him have done the job since with 2 more runs driven in. So even in the throes of a slump, the rookie does something to help out. On 1-1. That's a whistling fastball in the outside corner, and Paciorek says, I don't think I could have hit that one.
Mentioning that pitch to Pete Incaviglia, a very important point, because a big free swinger like that, you would have to expect as a pitcher that he's going to swing at a 3-2. Dennis Martinez has to go back to the dugout and say, wait a minute, I threw him a good 3-2 breaking ball. He is supposed to swing at that. I'm supposed to be out of the inning.
And then you've got Ward singling up the middle, and then Parrish and Slot both going the other way to right field for base hits. Paciorek got in front of that curveball. So against the right-hander Martinez, both of those hitters going the other way. Those are the things that add up. Paciorek with that wide open stance facing the shortstop with the feet lined up. On 2-2. The count is full with Steve Buechele on deck. Paciorek is now 3 for 6 on the year, and make it 3 for 7 as he strikes out on the off-speed breaking ball. And Havens finally comes in to put the Orioles out of their misery. For Texas in the 5th, 5 runs on 7 hits. Make it 6 runs on 7 hits. Left a couple of base runners. They've left 4. But after 4.5, Texas leading it 7-2. Bobby Valentine has made some defensive adjustments here in the middle of the 5th. Odubie McDowell right in front of you has taken center field, and he will replace Tom Paciorek in the lineup. Paciorek 1 for 2 on the night. Reached base twice and scored a run, and Gary Ward will stay in the game and move to left field. So it's Ward, McDowell, and Incaviglia. The outfield from left to right as the Orioles come to bat in the bottom of the 5th with Dempsey, Wiggins, and Lacey. Well, it's always an interesting situation. There's Odubie, who just came in. Steve Busby, a pitcher, has just been handed a 5-run lead. What's his #1 priority now?
#1 priority right now, after your team has scored 6 in the 5th inning, is to go out and make sure the opposition does not score this inning. If the opposition, especially a team as explosive as Baltimore, can put 1 run or 2 on the board now, it changes the entire complexion of the game. You shut them down here, and it could become a blowout in your favor.
We'll see how Mike goes after him here. Breaking ball into the dirt. Dempsey grounding out to third, and what a spectacular play it was by Steve Buechele, way behind the bag with the long throw, with 2 men on base to end the second inning. And that play was the reason the Rangers didn't fall behind early 3-zip. Dempsey had a good rip. Back to the screen it went.
Dempsey was trying to get one back on the board very quickly.
Yep. Rick Dempsey has a couple of home runs this year. There's that low outside pitch again, almost looking like a screwball, tailing away from that right-handed hitter.
That was not really his changeup, but looks like a pretty good sinker. He turned that over just a little bit. A good spot to Dempsey.
Dempsey, the Orioles' most valuable player of the '83 World Series. On 2-2. The fastball is low. And the Cardinals' sin with a 5-run lead is to walk the leadoff man.
Well, that was the pitch that Mike Mason wanted. He did not want to go to 3-2 to Rick Dempsey.
Good pitch, but he rides it to left field corner. That will be a couple. We could have a play at second. And Dempsey, knowing that, comes back, and he fell down, but gets back in time. Gary Ward played the ball perfectly off the left field wall because it was hit so hard. And I say good pitch. I meant a good pitch for the hitter because that one was right down the pike on 3-2.
3-2, you have to come right down through there. Dempsey knew it. Gary Ward, an outstanding play here, moving over from center, and this is the first chance he's had. Played it perfectly. Mike Mason made a mistake there. A pitcher has nothing to do on a play like that. He has to be watching the runner and let Toby Harrah, the second baseman, know what's going on. Had Harrah been alerted to the fact that Dempsey had fallen down after rounding first, they had a shot at it.
Alan Wiggins took one outside and low. It appears Dave Rozema is stirring in the Ranger bullpen already. I don't think Bobby will go very long with Mike Mason here unless he really gets aggressive. That one's trouble, folks. Incaviglia got it back in. Ball is loose and picked up by Mason. And runners are at first and second with nobody out, and here comes Mr. V. And it would be a shame for Mason not to be able to go 5 innings and get credit for a victory when he has a 5-run lead.
Now, a little dunker here off the bat of Wiggins, and even with the speed of McDowell, there was no play on the ball. Good job this time by Mike Mason to back the play up. Had he not been in the proper position, Rick Dempsey, as the throw went off the glove of Scott Fletcher, could have advanced to third base, but Mike Mason very alertly backing it up. You know, when Bobby came out of the dugout, it looked as though Mike Mason looked at his pitching hand as though he may have been developing some soreness on his fingers, possibly of the beginnings of a blister.
Dave Rozema for the Rangers. Warming up in case. And you've got the big hitters for the O's coming up now. Nobody out. 2 on. Bottom of the 5th. Rangers by 5. And Mason would love to see a ground ball right at Toby Harrah or Scott Fletcher. There's a double play the other way. Unassisted Harrah.
Had it not been for a heads-up base running by Alan Wiggins, you may have seen the optimum in a situation like that, a triple play. I think Wiggins, though, doing a good job at first base, not straying too far from the bag, but this is a tailor-made triple play ball, to be quite honest. Runners at first and second, a line drive near the bag, and Toby's going to look at first base to see if he has a play.
Well, it doesn't matter how you get it. 4 unassisted on the double play, and Ripken now will hit with 2 outs and a man at first, and Wiggins is a threat. We'll see if Earl Weaver makes the decision, though, to possibly take the bat out of Ripken's hands, down by 5. He needs a 2-run homer more than he needs a stolen base. Ripken has driven in a run tonight. He's 1 for 2. We'll pause now. 5 seconds for station identification. This is the Texas Rangers Baseball Network.
You're watching the Texas Rangers on KTVT Channel 11, Fort Worth, Dallas.
Bob Carpenter and Steve Busby with you from Baltimore. Ripken to the left side, and Scott Fletcher will call it, or will Ward call him off it? I think Gary would have been better off calling that ball, but Scott had made his mind up early. Nevertheless, Ripken is retired, and Mason has weathered the storm and at least put himself in position to win. Rangers 7-2 after 5. Welcome back to Baltimore, where the Rangers had an impressive 5th inning with 6 runs across and lead at 7-2. And we would like to say congratulations to our regular producer slash director here on the Rangers telecasts on Channel 11, Dave Burchett and his wife Joni, announcing the arrival of a new baby boy today. He weighs 7 pounds 3 ounces, and we welcome Brett James Burchett into the world. Dave will rejoin us in Toronto, and it's a pleasure to have Dave Ernst with us tonight, producing our show here in Baltimore. Congratulations to the Burchetts on their new arrival earlier today. I guess the father's doing fine. We haven't heard a report on him. And it'll be Steve Buechele to lead off the 6th for the Rangers. Buechele is 0 for 2. And Steve has certainly contributed in a big way with the glove tonight with his outstanding grab behind third base that snuffed out a Baltimore rally back in the 2nd. Fastball at the letters. Buechele was named the Rangers minor leaguer of the year last year for his fine work at Oklahoma City, where he hit .297 with 9 homers and 64 RBIs. In 69 games with the big club, he hit 6 homers and knocked in 21. Brad Havens working to him with 2-1 the count. And Scott Fletcher on deck. Rangers trying to win their 6th game of the year tonight against 3 defeats. They're already off to their best start since '83 when they were 6-2. And Buechele had a good rep on 3-1. And the Rangers coming into the ballgame tonight leading KC and Seattle by a half game in first place in the American League West for the first time since July 17th of '83. Well hit to left center. Way back goes Fred Lynn, and see you later. Steve Buechele, his 3rd of the year. He hit it a ton to left center. A towering blast, and he now is homered in 2 straight games.
Steve Buechele, people have said, yes, he has a good glove, but can he hit? I think he's answering a lot of questions. Pretty good fastball there from Brad Havens, and well, I'll tell you what, Steve Buechele just jumped all over it. He showed flashes last year of having very good power, but had trouble with pitches that he should have hit. He hit some home runs, but he missed some mistake pitches. He is not doing that in the early part of '86. He's become a much more consistent hitter, and I think the improvement is going to continue.
Earl Weaver is not a guy I would want to be sharing a dugout bench with right now.
Scott Fletcher.
There may be no one sharing the bench with him. Earl has a tendency to walk up and down the runway when things are not going well.
You know, we need to check something with Tim Foley. Buzz, I've seen 2 Rangers hit homers tonight, come around third base. There's no high fives or no handshake. They reach out and tap him on the chest. We're going to have to check out what all that means down there. Buechele did it after O'Brien did it earlier. Rangers now have hit 14 homers on the year. And it's a count of 2-0 to Scott Fletcher. He tried to go to right field. Well, Buzz, I knew that our first telecast would be interesting and fun, but I didn't know it was going to be this much fun. It's a laugher right now if Mason keeps things under control.
Well, Bobby's enjoying it. I'm certain you are. I enjoy it from the standpoint of the Rangers winning, but I hate to see pitchers getting taken advantage of. I mean, that's inbred with me. You know how that is.
You guys are a fraternity, aren't you?
Somebody's got to look out for us.
Well, somebody has to feel for the poor guys on the hill. There's a good rip by Scott again. Fletcher, a valuable player, can play several different positions, Buzz, and we haven't addressed this point tonight, but it is appropriate to do so here early in the season. The 24-man roster limitation now that most of the teams are dealing with makes a guy like Fletcher even more valuable.
Scott drawing the base on balls. It does from the standpoint of your bench is weakened by one man, and to have someone like Scott Fletcher who not only can come off the bench in offensive situations late in the ball game, can play all three defensive infield positions extremely well, can do a multitude of things, and will start for you in a lot of ways.
But you're not convinced the 24-man roster will be the norm by the time we hit the dog days of August?
I don't think so. I think someone is going to panic about the middle of June.
Davey Johnson, the manager of the Mets, is already moaning about it. And he's got a team that was supposed to dominate that division, at least in his preseason prognosis. Toby Harrah's the hitter. We'll see if Fletcher decides to do anything. With 5 runs the lead, or 6 runs the lead now, some would consider it a slap in the face to start the runner. There is varying degrees of thought on that.
Heard it explained very well one time. Manager said, yes, we will stop running if you will stop hitting home runs when you're that far ahead.
I think that was Tony La Russa and his friend in Cleveland, Pat Corrales. There's a long one down the left field line. It would be gone, but it's way up there foul. Hits the facade of the upper deck. I tell you, even the foul balls look impressive tonight.
Toby pulling the trigger a shade early. He did get all of it.
It's a power show for the visiting team here tonight. O'Brien, the big blow with 2 outs in the 5th. And he simply threw that one right by Toby. Second strikeout for Brad Havens.
And Toby, after pulling that last pitch deep and foul, was possibly looking for a breaking ball, and Havens came back with an outstanding fastball on the outside part of the plate.
Yeah, the best he could hope for there was to foul that one off because he was way behind. Well, here's Pete. And Buzz made a good point earlier in the night about Pete's proficiency against left-handed pitching. And he showed us the ultimate by rocketing one to the bleachers in right off Scott McGregor that chased him out of here. Eight to 2 in the 6th. Rangers have out-hit the Orioles 11-7.
You know, Pete's the kind of a hitter against a left-handed pitcher. He may only go 1 for 4 or may have an off night and not get a hit, but he's going to battle a left-hander and make him work.
On 2-0. Pretty good breaking ball from Havens, who was thinking the same thing I was, that Pete would definitely have the green light to do whatever he wanted ahead in the count the way he was. Fletcher the lead at first. O'Brien's got some hitting room through the right side. Tried to pull that off-speed pitch, and he fouled it. 2-2.
I think Pete's eyes just lit up when he saw that breaking ball coming in from Havens. That was a hanger up and in, and probably a little too much up and in for Pete to be able to do much with.
O'Brien, the Ranger leader last year in homers and RBIs with 22 and 92. A real cornerstone of this team and this organization now. That will probably be a wild pitch. It bounced way in front of Dempsey.
Havens trying to drop down to the side and throw the breaking ball, and I think that's a very good lesson for young pitchers. He was with a 2-2 count on O'Brien trying to get him out, and he went with his 4th best pitch, and it cost him 90 feet of advancement for Scott Fletcher.
Full count now to Pete O'Brien with 1 out and the runner at second. And another walk, number 2, issued by Brad Havens.
Let me amplify a little bit on what I said. When you get a hitter to 2-2, especially a left-handed pitcher, left-handed hitter, or right-handed pitcher, right-handed hitter, you better make that 2-2 pitch with your best pitch. And I don't believe that Brad Havens, looking back on that particular pitch to O'Brien, would choose to do the same thing.
All right, Pete, no pressure here. Your team's up by 6. Relax and get a base hit. Havens missing badly with the breaking ball again. I don't see any activity in the Baltimore bullpen. Earl says, Havens, it's yours, big guy. Get me out of this inning. That one looked like a slider, broke at the last moment. A ball and a strike.
Remember, Earl went out to the mound after the leadoff home run to Steve Buechele, and that may be exactly what he said to Brad Havens. Said, hey, big guy, you're in here for the duration.
Incaviglia seeing nothing but breaking balls here. And now he's in the hole 1 and 2. Incaviglia with 4 ribbies on the year. He scored a run tonight after walking. Just got a pool cue shot with that one off the end of the stick. Pete goes 6-1, 220 from Pebble Beach. There was some movement in the Oriole infield with Wiggins considering sneaking in behind the runner Fletcher. O'Brien's at first. That one is well hit to right. Way back goes Lacy at the wall. See you later. Well, we asked for a base hit and he gave us a home run. Pete Incaviglia, his second of the year. 3 RBIs. He now has 7. But we don't know if the slump's over yet, but that's a good way to break out of a 3 for 34.
Everyone has heard about Pete Incaviglia's strength. You have to be so strong to do what that man just did. Take a hanging breaking ball and hit it 380 feet to the opposite field. It's unbelievable. You have to supply all the power. You have to wait to the last second and be very quick. Never a doubt about this ball. Lee Lacy is going back to make sure that he can glove it if it bounded back in off the wall. That is incredible strength.
11-2. 4 more runs in this inning off Brad Havens to go with 6 in the 5th. Hit that ball about 390, I guess. Gary Ward looking to the right side. Well, we told you there was no pressure in that situation. And Pete was able to relax and jack one out of here. 3 homers on the night. 2 in the inning. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I don't know about the pressure. When you come into your 9th Major League ball game hitting 094 and hitting 4th in the lineup, and people have told you that you better start doing something. I think there's pressure on every pitch.
Yeah, I think what I meant there was no game pressure, but certainly pressure from the standpoint of what Pete was exposing himself to, self-imposed pressure.
Right.
And that had to be the biggest sigh in the ballpark, was the oxygen leaving the lungs of Pete Incaviglia as he saw that ball disappear over the right field fence. 2 down as Ward grounds out. 6-3, and Larry Parrish, who's got a base hit and an RBI tonight. 12 Ranger hits, 3 homers. I was telling you before the game, after doing the games in St. Louis for a couple of years, I'm not used to seeing power like this. I'm used to stolen bases, and here we are watching the ball go 390 all night long. But I like it. Parrish fouled the ball. Rick Dempsey claiming the ball never hit the hitter and that he should have been tagged out. Eddie Murray wants to appeal to the first base umpire, and Earl Weaver, down by 9, wants to let off a little steam and shove.
They'll get the appeal to Rick Reed. Greg Kosk obviously screened out of the play, could not tell. That has to be a fair ball because home plate is in fair territory, and the ball obviously hit out in front of the plate first and stayed there. That cannot be a foul ball. Eddie Murray is going to explain things to Greg Kosk, and Rich Garcia will come down and get his 2 cents worth in. I don't think you'll see much of an argument here from Earl. He figures 11-2, what's the use?
Well, it either hit Parrish or it didn't.
And there's the ball out in front of the plate. Now, I want to remind you, the home plate itself is in fair territory. Everything, obviously, in front of home plate is in fair territory.
Oh, yeah, that ball never even came close to hitting him.
No.
Obviously a fair ball and a blown call by the home plate umpire, Greg Kosk. Although he is screened by the catcher, it's a tough call. And the first base umpire has to give him some help with the right-handed hitter because the hitter's got the third base umpire pretty well screened out of there, too. But the strikeout. So all's well that ends well. And it was a very well 6th inning for the Rangers with 2 walks, 2 homers, 4 runs, and it's 11-2. We have a new left fielder for the Rangers again. Gary Ward has left us, and George Wright will get some playing time here with a 9-run lead in the 6th, so he will replace Gary Ward in left. And we go on to the bottom of the 6th with Mike Mason working with a 9-run lead. Somebody's checking out the local radio broadcast there. That's the assistant trainer, Danny Wheat. I always wondered what trainers did when everybody was healthy. Get some of the action on the airwaves. Eddie Murray will lead off for the Orioles in the 6th. Murray, Lynn, and Benitez. Eddie's 1 for 2 tonight with a base hit and a run scored ahead of the RBI double by Mike Young. That was back in the 2nd. And right now, the key defensive play in this game, Steve Buechel's retiring of Rick Dempsey to close that 2nd inning. If Steve doesn't make that play, Baltimore leads 2-0 and maybe 3-0, and it gives the whole ball game a new complexion. But here we are in the 6th with the good guys on top, 11-2. Mike Mason last year had 1 complete game in 30 starts. He pitched 38 games total.
Big thing now for Mike Mason, we talked about it last inning, the importance of him going out and shutting down the Orioles with no runs. He did it last inning thanks to a line drive double play. That'll be a foul ball. Now it's to use a premium of pitches for him. It's the point now where he would like to have a complete game, stretch things out a little bit, at least get in 7 if he possibly can, because it will help him down the road. And by using a premium of pitches, I mean throwing strikes on the first pitch.
Into right center. Ball cut off by Oddibe McDowell, so Murray will settle for a single. You know, right now at this time of the year, Buzz, a complete game is not as important as a little later on because all the pitchers want work now anyway, and especially with the off day in Milwaukee on Tuesday and then Wednesday's rainout. Bobby will not hesitate to put some of his relief corps to work if Mike runs into trouble here, because guys need game competition at this point.
That's a very good point, Bob, and it's well taken.
There's another hit. Incaviglia charging. Murray will go to third. Pete hitting the cutoff man. Scott Fletcher. Runners at the corners with nobody out. And as in the fifth, when they put the first two men on with base hits, the Orioles have done it here in the sixth with Murray and Lynn.
Freddie Lynn going after the first pitch, and he grounds it through the vacated right side. Pete O'Brien, even though playing behind Eddie Murray, not able to go out and get that ball. Well, the complete game would be good for Mike Mason, and that's about as far as it goes confidence-wise. You mentioned he only had one last year, but now it's a matter of getting the work that he needs in, throwing the number of pitches. If he gets a complete game, fine, but he needs to get in the 7 innings unless he has undue trouble. That's a magic mark for a pitcher. If you get to the 7th inning, you've done your job as a starter as far as I'm concerned.
Juan Benitez. Kind of reminds me of a right-handed Richie Hebner.
Yeah.
You throw the ball in the park and he'll swing at it. By the way, they must be anticipating something. The van just showed up near the Ranger bullpen, so the driver at least thinks that Bobby might be making a pitching change here soon. There's a breaking ball, and it's fouled outside third. 0-2. Benitez, now a third baseman with the Orioles. A former shortstop at Fenway. This one didn't miss by much. Eddie Murray had to skate to get out of the way. Benitez played out his option with California, signed as a free agent on January 28th with Baltimore after hitting .304 with the Angels last year. His 13th year in the big leagues. On 1-2. Moved him off the plate. Bobby Valentine on your right with Joe Ferguson. And the count is full. Looks like Dwayne Henry is throwing. That's a broken bat, pop fly to the left side. It's in there for a hit and an RBI. And the Orioles have runners at first and second. Fred Lynn was moving on the play. A broken bat by Benitez.
Well, again, Mike Mason making a pretty good pitch to Juan Benitez. But as happened in the second inning, Benitez able to get enough wood on it to loop it over Scott Fletcher's head for the RBI single. So Eddie Murray doing the proper thing at third base, waiting to make sure the ball fell before he took off for home.
Well, here's a guy who can jack it out of here. No chance for Fletcher or for George Wright. Mike Young's a big, strong guy. Hit 28 homers a year ago with 81 RBIs. He's not a guy you hear a lot about up here, but he is strong. Sounds kind of funny to say with one swing of the bat he could make this a 5-run ball game. Rangers are still up by 8. But he certainly could lop 3 off of that in a hurry. He's the DH tonight. 1 for 2 with a double. And an RBI. And that was a handcuffing high hard one from Mason that had Young overmatched, and he's in the hole 0-2. Young is in his 3rd major league season. He lives here in the Baltimore area now, originally from Oakland. Switch hitter. Like Murray, rather unusual for a power hitter. That could be 2. Fletcher to Hara. On to O'Brien. 6-4-3. You couldn't room service order one any better.
I know that's what Bobby Valentine and Mike Mason were hoping for, even though he has given up a run here in the 6th inning. You would like to see him be able to work out of this, get through the 6th inning. That would help his confidence. Here, a tailor-made 6-4-3 double play. So he just 1 out away from doing it. And when you get the first 2 runners on, you only give up 1 run. That to a pitcher is a little better than a tie.
That one's well hit to left. Wright was playing very shallow, and he makes the play. Boy, was he shallow. Well, just another routine inning for Mike Mason, although he did give up a run this time on 3 hits. A runner left. They have left 5 in the game after 6. Rangers on top 11-3. Rangers on top in this one 11-3 after 6. Most of these stations on the Ranger Network will bring you action tomorrow night from here in Baltimore. We'll be on the air at 6:30. Mickey Mailer against Mike Bonacker, as the Rangers evidently will be going for their 4th straight and their 4th straight on the road. Hope you can join us. And now as we move on to the 7th with Don Slaught, Oda B. McDowell, and Steve Buechele hitting, here's my partner, Steve Busby.
Thank you very much, Bob. 11-3 Rangers after 2 big innings back-to-back. 6th in the 5th and 4 runs on the board in the 6th inning. They have had 12 hits, only 2 more than Baltimore, but Baltimore has but 3 runs. Don Slaught takes a strike. He has a perfect night going. He is 3 for 3. He has scored 2 runs. He has an RBI. So Slaught now with 8 RBIs on the year. He is now hit in 7 straight ball games. Outfield playing fairly deep. The infield just about straight away for the Ranger catcher. Brad Havens, who came on in that 6th-run 5th inning, beginning his 2nd full inning of work, delivers upstairs. Two balls and a strike. The count to Don Slaught. Havens finds the strike zone, evens things out now, 2-2. Don has enjoyed hitting against Oriole pitching. He is a .317 lifetime hitter, and that's before tonight. A 3-for-3 performance thus far. Havens, the half windup, and Slaught down for the first time tonight. So Havens records his 4th strikeout for the left-hander. He's walked 2 and now struck out 4, and that will bring up Oda B. McDowell as you get another look at the hard breaking ball from Brad Havens. So he set down Parrish on strikes to end the 6th inning, and now begins the 7th by fanning Don Slaught. Oda B. McDowell, his first trip to the plate this evening. Oda B hitting at .286, looks at a ball downstairs, 0-1-0. Couple of home runs, 3 RBIs. On the inside corner, it's 1-1. Havens back with the 1-1 pitch, and McDowell skies it foul and out of play at third base side, 1-2. Havens back to McDowell. The 1-2 pitch took something off that breaking ball, and Oda B way out in front. And the 5th strikeout victim for Brad Havens. Oda B fooled on that pitch. So Havens now 3 consecutive strikeouts. And it will bring up third baseman Steve Buechele, who began the 6th inning by hitting his 3rd home run of the year. Some fans up there huddled against the cooling evening. Started out a very nice night. First pitch outside to Buechele. Infield and outfield playing the third baseman straight away. That's in the dirt. 2-0. Brad Havens, the 25-year-old, originally signed with the California Angels. Played for the Minnesota Twins. As a matter of fact, he was their opening day starter in 1983. 2-1 the count to Buechele. Orioles acquired him from Minnesota at the end of spring training of 1985 in exchange for pitcher Mark Brown. Little roller down third base. Beniquez will just have to glove it in front of the bag, and Buechele has his second straight hit. He's 2 out of 4 tonight with that 2-out infield single. So Steve Buechele playing a long ball and slow roller. 2 for 4. Back to the top of the lineup, and Scott Fletcher. 13 base hits now for the Rangers. Fletcher 1 for 3 with an RBI. He's also walked and scored a run. Scott playing at shortstop tonight goes after the first Havens offering, and it's strike 1. Havens from the belt, and the breaking ball misses outside. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. 11-3 Rangers. We're in the top of the 7th inning. 2 outs, 1 on, and Havens offering misses, so it's 2-1. Brad Havens, as we mentioned, starting out in the California organization. You get a look at Bobby Valentine, who, by the way, was in the California organization for a while. Came to the Minnesota Twins in 1979 and was part of the Rod Carew deal. Rod Carew going to the California Angels. Three and 1. Count to Scott Fletcher. And for the second straight time now, Fletcher has walked, and Havens has allowed 3 base on balls to go along with the 5 strikeouts.
Second baseman, Toby.
So down to second goes Buechele. Fletcher will be stationed at first base. Toby Harrod, 1 out of 4 with an RBI single in the 5th inning, will be the hitter. Toby now 6 RBIs on the year. And he is 2 for 10 with 2 RBIs against the Baltimore Ball Club. Havens breaking ball out of the strike zone. 1-0. Havens studying the signs from Rick Dempsey. Pop foul back over our heads. A ball and a strike. Toby Harrod, experienced second baseman for the Rangers. Very valuable man on this Ranger ball club. Takes upstairs. 2 and 1. Been an awful lot of help to the younger players, Steve Buechele, Curtis Wilkerson, most notably. His experience, his knowledge. He's played all 3 infield positions and really imparted an awful lot of knowledge about positioning, handling different situations. 3 balls and a strike now. Toby Harrod awaiting the 3-1 pitch from Brad Havens. Outside, ball 4. So Brad Havens, 2 walks now, back-to-back to Fletcher and Harrod. That will load the bases for Pete O'Brien. O'Brien, his 3rd home run of the year, a 3-run blast in the 5th inning. He's also walked and scored, grounded out and struck out. So again, the table's set for the Ranger first baseman. Well, Brad Havens, control problems here. That really has been his history. He has been a strikeout pitcher. As you have seen, he has outstanding stuff, but he has also had control problems throughout his professional stint. Breaking ball, and he's behind on the count for 1-0. And Ken Rowe going to go out and have a little chat with the left-hander. So in an 11-3 ball game that the Rangers are leading, Earl Weaver would like to see this young left-hander get some things together. He could be a very important factor as far as the Orioles bullpen is concerned. Tippy Martinez, the other left-hander in the Oriole bullpen, of course, is a premier short man, but they need someone to come in middle or ladder relief before Tippy. Brad Havens being planned on to be that man. Pitch to O'Brien, foul back. It's a ball and a strike. And the Orioles have to face the prospect, too, of Tippy Martinez getting on in age. Tippy up there at 35 now, so not the youngest of players. Havens would like a new baseball, and Greg Kosk, the home plate umpire, will comply with his wish. 1-1, bases loaded, 2 outs. We're in the top of the 7th inning. Havens to O'Brien. Little chopper down the first baseline. Tough play. Murray's going to have to do it himself. And he missed the tag, but he got the bag. O'Brien, a headlong slide, went past first base and never got the bag. And all Eddie Murray did is, after he missed the tag, step on the bag. Well, the side retired in the 7th inning. No runs, a hit, and 3 men left. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th. It is 11-3 Rangers.
Working on the farm. Days are all filled with an easy.
All set to go to the bottom of the 7th inning. Rangers enjoying the evening. Baltimore 11-3 in favor of Texas. 11 runs, 13 hits for the Rangers. 3 runs on 10 hits for Baltimore. A big 6-run fifth really got things going for Texas. Rick Dempsey to lead things off. Mike Mason beginning his 7th inning of work, and kind of what we talked about last inning, Bob, that if he can get through 7 innings, I think both he and Bobby Valentine will be very satisfied. Little check swing looper, and Pete O'Brien will take care of that easily. So 1 pitch, 1 out. That's the way you like to have it.
Yeah, in contrast to the last 2 innings where he's had problems with the first 2 men, it's good to see him fool somebody like that. It shows he still has the good stuff in the 7th to leave a hitter out, hung out like that with a half swing.
Alan Wiggins now the hitter. 1 out, nobody on. Wiggins showed bunt. He was just taking a look at things, and it's strike 1. Wiggins 1 out of 2 tonight. He walked and scored in the 3rd, singled in the 5th. Well, you mentioned Mike Mason last year only having 1 complete game, and I think Bobby Valentine feels that as much confidence or lack thereof that Mike was not able to finish more. And I think he'd like to get him stretched out a little bit mentally anyway, because you do change things as the game progresses. Change your pattern of thinking, you change your, well, that's mental stamina. That's outside. 2-1 now to Wiggins. Ranger outfield, shallow, swung around slightly to the right, a bunt down third base, a good one. Mason slips as he throws and still gets him. Oh, what a play by Mike Mason. You would figure, leading 11-3, that a bunt like that, a pitcher is going to put it in his pocket with a guy the speed of Wiggins. Not so in Mike Mason's case.
Tough play. You saw his left foot slide on the turf out from under him, and a bang-bang play at first base, and he got him nicely. You know, that was a very difficult throw as well. He didn't get squared up properly with first base because he had slipped and had to kind of throw the ball away from his body a little bit and really stretch out that arm. And an outstanding play by Mike Mason.
Boy, making things doubly tough for a left-hander down the third base line. He's got to turn his entire body. Good play by Mike Mason. So the first two hitters here in the 7th inning retired, and Lee Lacy will be the batter. Lacy 0 for 3 this evening. A strike on the outside corner. Lacy has grounded out, popped out, and lined into a double play, a very key play in the 5th inning. 1-1. 5th inning, you remember, was the bottom half of the inning in which the Rangers took a 7-2 lead, and the first two Orioles got aboard before Lacy lined a shot at second baseman Toby Harrah, who went over to the bag, made it an unassisted double play, and Mason able to get Ripken on a pop-up to end the inning with no damage. 2-1 now, the count to Lee Lacy. Lacy against Ranger pitching this year, 5 out of 16. 2-1 offering from Mike Mason. 3-1. Mike Mason back with a 3-1 pitch. Sky to left center field. Oh, it'll be McDowell. Camped into this one. A 1-2-3 inning for Mike Mason. So a good effort here in the 7th. We finished 7 innings in Baltimore. It's Texas 11 and Baltimore 3. As we go to the top of the 8th inning, Rangers on top 11-3. Defensive change for the Baltimore Orioles. Larry Sheets, normally an outfielder, now behind the plate in place of Rick Dempsey. So for the Rangers, it'll be Pete Incaviglia leading things off, and to tell you about it in the 8th inning, once again, Bob Carpenter.
Thank you, Buzz. Pete's last at bat was a memorable one. His second homer of the year, and he nearly doubled his RBI total from 4 to 7 with a shot to right about 390 feet back in the 6th. And a breaking ball from Havens. Incaviglia, one of 3 players in the major leagues who have not played a day of minor league baseball. Dave Winfield, Bob Horner, the other 2. They just flashed that on the scoreboard here as the between innings trivia quiz. .48 homers and 143 RBIs last year at Oklahoma State. Can you believe that?
That's a pretty good career for most people.
In 75 games.
Yeah.
That's better than a homer every 2 games. And it's almost 2 RBIs a game. No wonder I've seen so many Big 8 pitchers smiling the last couple of weeks. Pete's gone. 2-2 the count to him. He's 1 for 3 on the night. He scored twice, walked once, struck out once, and hit hard to center back in the 2nd. And if you take yesterday's walk in the ninth, Pete's been on base 3 of his last 5 times up. He's got that short, compact swing a lot of people have been talking about. His right elbow doesn't get out at all. It's in very close to his body when he swings. Rather unusual swing. And he's on base again. Well, he's drawing his 2nd walk here tonight. That is the 5th walk issued by Brad Havens. The 6th issued by Baltimore pitching tonight. George Wright with that crazy play ending the Orioles' 6th inning when he was playing very shallow and had to go back for a line drive off the bat of John Shelby. They're not holding Incaviglia on. Eddie Murray is playing behind him as we get our first look of the night at George at the plate. Wright is batting just 0 for 1 so far and make it 0 for 2 as Shelby camped under that one. And Larry Parrish, who's 1 for 4, will hit. He had a key RBI single in that 5th inning. That drove in the 6th Ranger run. I was over in the press box a minute ago, and all the Metroplex writers are buzzing about the power display tonight. Sounded like a broken bat. Fred Lynn taking care of that one. Yesterday, they were all yawning during the ball game with 21 walks and 20-odd strikeouts and 6 wild pitches. Ball game that ran over 3 hours. And tonight, boy, they're excited about what they see. And I think that their attitude reflects that of a lot of folks in the Metroplex right now, Steve. It's going to be an interesting year one way or the other. I don't think we'll score 11 every night or even half that, but this team will make things interesting. And I think, as you and I talked about on the preseason special a week ago Monday, there's a lot of talk on a positive side about this club in '86. Gino Petralli will pinch hit and take over for Don Slott. Behind the plate. Gino hits it well but foul. Look out, folks. This is Gino's first at bat this year right-handed. He's 1 for 3 from the left side. Playing in his 3rd ball game.
Well, Bob, you talk about the offensive output tonight. Obviously, no team is going to put 11 runs, 13 hits on the board every night. But for a young team like this, it's, as we mentioned, a learning experience. And every night like this, every night where you get a lot of good at-bats, play well defensively, is a very positive step. It's just important at this stage of the development of the Texas Rangers.
And you look at the power display tonight, it's come from every end of the Ranger spectrum. The rookie in Cavilla, the guy's been around for a couple of years, Pete O'Brien, and the guy who's been around for a short time as well, Steve Buechele. So the young guys are doing it too. Petralli rams one to left, but right there is Shelby. Well hit. And after the walk to Incaviglia, the Rangers go down on fly balls. They leave 1. They've left 8 after 7.5. Rangers by 8. We welcome the Ranger Network back to Baltimore with us, Bob Carpenter and Steve Busby. It's been a most entertaining Friday night of offensive baseball with a couple of good defensive plays sprinkled in by the guys in blue and gray. And as we go to the Baltimore 8th, we have a new pitcher, Dwayne Henry. Henry split time between Double-A Tulsa and the big club last year. He was 7-6 at Double-A with a 2.66 ERA. And he had 9 saves there in 81 innings. With the Rangers 2-2 in 16 games. Did not start any. And had 3 saves with the big club as well, with a pretty good ERA of 2.57.
Very good for a developing 24-year-old. He's a very hard thrower, and he has overcome pretty severe elbow surgery back in 1982. Now he is just getting things remastered, and this will be his 2nd appearance of the year. He's worked an inning and a third, and he has struck out 1. He has allowed no walks and no runs.
Wayne's a big guy, 6'3", 205, out of Elkton, Maryland. Living in Middletown, Delaware now. He's not far from home, is he? 24 years old. He'll face Ripken, Murray, and Lynn. Cal Ripken, as we told you earlier, doesn't have any problem with a right-hander being out there. Last year, he hit 20 of his 26 home runs against right-handed pitching and had 82 of his 110 runs batted in against righties, and he slams that one right to Otoby. Can't hit it any harder. Gino Petralli is behind the plate in place of Don Slott. So a good chance for Bobby Valentine here tonight. on a night you wouldn't otherwise expect it against a pitcher like McGregor to get some people into the game that wouldn't be in there in a tight situation.
For a guy who came into the ball game 8-1 lifetime against your club, you were probably figuring on a low-scoring ball game. And this is an unexpected opportunity, I'm sure, as far as Bobby's concerned, but a very welcome one.
Yeah, he was treated rather rudely tonight, Mr. McGregor. Murray's 2 for 3. He scored twice. A homer and 3 RBI.
Here on KTVT Channel 11, the Super Ones.